Okay, so get this right. You've got students out there acing their history exams
Yeah.
basically just by watching YouTube. Like legit YouTube scholars. It's
Yeah.
happening way more than you think. And it really makes you wonder, why is education, I mean, especially, like traditional schools, why is it so slow to change, especially when everything else about how we learn is changing so fast?
Yeah, for sure. It is kind of a head scratcher.
So we're going to deep dive into this. We're looking at some research from Kevin Brake, who's got some pretty interesting ideas about how,
Yeah.
well, I guess how the traditional classroom model is just not really keeping up,
Mm.
and how things like AI and
Mm.
personalized learning, all that could totally revolutionize education, not like destroy it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. It's a total paradox, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've got this unbelievable amount of information just like right there at our fingertips, but then our schools are still,
Still doing the same old thing.
yeah, clinging to these old school models. And Kevin Brake, he points out that, this isn't really a new thing. Think about when computers first showed up in classrooms.
Right, right. Everyone freaked out.
Total panic. Everyone thought, like, oh my God, teachers are going to be out of a job.
And of course, that totally didn't happen.
Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like every time there's like any new technology,
Yeah.
it's like, boom, teachers are going to be gone. But with AI, Kevin Brake actually says that it could be, if we use it right,
Yeah,
it could be a teacher's best friend.
Yep.
Seriously.
totally. And he talks about how AI could take over all that, tedious stuff,
Oh, yeah.
like grading and lesson planning, maybe even teaching some basic stuff.
Right. So teachers can.
And that frees up teachers to do like the really important things,
Yeah.
Mentoring,
I
inspiring.
mean, the humans, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about using tech to like give teachers more power.
Yeah. Super teachers.
Exactly. Super teachers,
Yeah.
not replacing them.
That makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, giving teachers like superpowers to really personalize the learning for each student. But here's the thing, the pandemic,
Yeah.
it forced everyone online. And you'd think that would be like the golden opportunity to finally change things up.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Right.
But what Kevin Brake finds is that
Yeah.
it didn't really go that way. A lot of schools just took their old
The
methods
same old stuff.
and dumped them online. Didn't really work out too well.
Not at all. Wasn't there a study?
There was. In the Netherlands, they found that, get this, 70% of students were like
Bored out of their minds.
totally bored,
Yes.
which is so interesting because what they said they missed wasn't like,
The lectures.
yeah, not the lectures. It was like actually being with other people, doing stuff together,
So it's more than just like the information.
way more. It's the whole experience, the environment.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
And it goes back to what Kevin Brake is saying.
Yeah.
Good education isn't just about like,
Shoving information in your head.
exactly. It's about making it engaging.
So, okay, if the old ways aren't working, what does he actually suggest? Like, what does this new future of education even look like?
Well, he's got a pretty compelling vision. Imagine, right, classrooms where learning is totally personalized.
Okay,
AI is actually helping to like tailor the content
to each student.
to each student based on how they learn best.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. But how would that even work?
Well, there are some really cool things already out there. Think about Khan Academy.
Right.
It's using algorithms and data to create like custom learning paths.
So it's not everyone learning the same thing at the same time. It's like
No,
you go at your own pace.
totally.
Yeah,
It adapts to you.
that's really cool.
Yeah, recognizing that we all learn in different ways. And tech can make that happen.
Mm-hmm. But it's not just solo learning, right? Kevin Brake talks about this idea of peer-to-peer learning.
Yeah. It's not about isolating kids behind screens. It's about using tech to connect them with each other.
So like online communities or something?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine students from all over the world, like collaborating on projects.
That's amazing. I like that.
Mhm.
It's not just like kids in their own little bubbles.
Exactly.
That's a relief, actually. But does Kevin Brake just kind of like lay out this big vision?
Right.
Or does he have ideas about how to actually,
He does. He's got like a roadmap, specific steps.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It all starts with changing how we think about technology,
Hmm.
not being afraid of it, seeing it as a tool for change.
So not like robots are going to take over the world.
No. He's got this great quote. He says, let's make online content more engaging and not just put content online and forget it.
Yeah, I like that.
It's about being creative, you
Yeah,
know?
it's not enough to just throw a textbook online and call it a day.
Exactly.
You
Right.
gotta make it as good as that YouTube video that got that kid that A+.
Exactly.
That's what makes those videos work, right? The storytelling,
Yeah, the visuals. Yeah,
interactivity.
to bring that into online learning.
So it's not just about the tech itself.
Nope, it's the whole
Yeah.
experience.
Okay, now I'm really interested. Like, give me an example. What does this new learning experience actually look like?
Okay. Imagine like virtual field trips
Right.
where students can explore like ancient ruins or dive into like the human body or like simulations where they get to run a business
Wow.
or design a sustainable city.
That's like bringing learning to life.
Exactly. You're not just reading about it in a book, you're actually there.
That's amazing. But what about teachers? Where do they fit in with all this?
That's a big one, and Kevin Brake is very clear on that. He says teachers aren't replaced by tech. They're empowered by it. Their role just changes.
So instead of like lecturing at the front of the room, they're more like,
Yeah, they become facilitators,
it's-
mentors, guides.
so more one-on-one with students or small groups?
Yeah, giving personalized support and feedback.
Okay. This is all starting to sound like less science fiction-y
Right.
and more like something that could actually happen.
Yeah, for sure. But there are definitely challenges.
Right. You're talking about changing a system that's like centuries old.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
Hmm.
So there are going to be, roadblocks,
Yeah. I
like
remember.
money problems, people not wanting things to change. You know how it is.
It's hard to break away from tradition,
Yeah,
especially something as like fundamental as education.
exactly.
But Kevin Brake is pretty sure this new model is what we need. So
He is.
he's got to have some ideas about how to make it happen.
Oh, he does. He's got specific suggestions for breaking down those barriers.
Okay, that's what I like to hear. Actionable steps. So what's first?
First, we got to rethink how we measure learning.
Mm-hmm.
He says, ditch the standardized tests
Okay.
and go for more authentic assessments.
So like projects,
Projects,
portfolios,
portfolios.
stuff that shows kids can actually use what they know.
Exactly. Stuff that's meaningful to them.
Okay. And that makes it more fun too, right?
Way more engaging.
If you're working on something you care about, you're going to learn more.
Totally. You're invested. You're not just
Yeah.
passively taking it in.
Yeah, that's where the magic happens.
That's it. But it's not just about, how we test kids.
Yeah.
It's about giving teachers the support they need to make all this work.
Okay, so what does that look like?
Well, things like professional development, helping teachers get good at using tech in their classes,
Okay.
designing personalized learning plans,
Mm-hmm.
creating those engaging experiences we were talking about, giving them time to, work together and try new things.
So we're talking about making teachers into like educational innovators.
Totally. Giving them the power to really own their classrooms and design them for their students' needs.
That's really cool. But it's not just about individual teachers and classrooms.
No,
is
it's
it?
bigger than that. It's about the whole system.
The whole enchilada, funding, policies, all of it.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is.
But after hearing all this, I'm actually starting to feel pretty good about the future of education.
Me too. And the cool thing is, it's not just like some pie in the sky idea. This stuff is happening right now.
Yep. Schools all over the world are experimenting with this stuff. Personalized learning,
Okay.
blended learning, project-based learning. It's real.
That's awesome.
It is. But we've all got to work together to make it happen.
Yeah, it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
Teachers, policymakers, parents, everyone.
Everyone. So what can our listeners do?
Yeah, how can people get involved?
Talk to people.
Yeah.
Kids, teachers, the school board, your representatives. Share what you've learned here.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out the links in the show notes, right?
Tons of great resources there. Edutopia, Getting Smart, the Christensen Institute.
All doing amazing work.
Yeah. Practical advice, inspiring stories, strategies.
So go check them out. The future of learning is literally in our hands.
Well said.
Okay, that's all the time we have for this part of our deep dive, but I want to leave you with something to think about. Imagine you could design the perfect learning environment for your kid.
Ooh, that's a good one.
What would it look like? What would you change about how we teach our kids today?
I love that question. Tell us your ideas in the comments below.
Yeah. And don't forget to like and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more conversations like this.
We'll be back soon with part 2. See ya then.
Bye.
So, one of the things that makes Kevin Brake's work so interesting is that he doesn't just, complain about the problems.
Right.
He actually offers, real solutions.
Yeah, because it's easy to say, oh, the education system is broken, but it's a lot harder to actually say, okay, here's how we fix it.
Exactly. And one of the things he really dives into is, rethinking the whole structure of education,
Okay.
like getting rid of that one-size-fits-all model
Hmm.
and going for a more personalized approach.
Yeah, we talked about personalized learning a little bit before, but I want to like really unpack that. What does that actually mean in a classroom, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, for sure. I mean, it is about letting kids learn at their own pace,
Okay.
but it's all, like way more than that.
Yeah.
Kevin Brake talks about how all students have these different learning styles.
Right.
Some are visual, some are auditory, some got to move around to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
Some love group work, others want to be solo. It's all different.
And right now it's like we're trying to fit everyone into the same box.
It's like a cookie cutter.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't work for everyone.
And that's where I guess a lot of the frustration comes from.
Totally. Students getting bored, feeling lost. And Kevin Brake says tech can help us break out of that.
Okay, so how does tech actually, make personalized learning happen? What are we talking about here?
Okay, so think about like AI-powered platforms
Mm-hmm.
that can like figure out a student's strengths and weaknesses
Okay.
and then adjust the content and, how fast or slow they go.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like Khan Academy, they're using algorithms for that.
So it's not everyone reading the same chapter in the same textbook at the same time.
Well,
It's more like you're working on what you need.
exactly, at your own pace.
Wow, that's really cool.
And it's not just about like giving you the info. It's also about letting students show what they know in ways that work for them.
Okay, so not just like standardized tests all the time.
Right.
More like projects, portfolios, stuff like that.
Totally. Kevin Brake says that makes it more engaging and you get a better idea of what a student actually understands.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's more real world.
And I bet it's more motivating for students too.
Oh, for sure. If you get to work on something you're into, you're going to be way more invested.
Right, because then it's not just like you're doing it for a grade.
Exactly.
It's actually something you care about.
And that's the whole point, right? Getting students excited about learning, letting them take charge.
That's awesome. But even with the best tech and all these new ideas, we still need teachers, right?
Oh, absolutely. Kevin Brake is very clear about that. He sees tech as a tool to help teachers, not to replace them.
So their role changes, I guess.
It does. Less lecturing, more mentoring,
I'm like a guide on the side.
Yeah,
Okay, I like that.
they help students like sift through all the info online.
Right, because there's so much out there.
So much. And they got to figure out what's real, what's not.
That's true.
And teachers become like designers of learning experiences,
Oh, I like that. Designing experiences.
creating stuff that makes kids curious and sparks that love of learning.
Yeah, I get it. So it's all coming together, but how do we actually get from, the old way of doing things to this new model?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's got to be a lot of logistical stuff to figure out.
Oh, there is. And Kevin Brake says we got to start by rethinking like the whole school structure.
Okay, so we're not just talking about like adding a few computers to a classroom.
No, this is bigger.
This is like a total makeover.
Totally. He talks about like blended learning,
Okay.
where kids split their time between online and in-person,
Right.
and project-based learning,
Yeah.
where they're working on real-world problems, stuff that matters.
I like that.
Yeah, it gets them engaged.
But that sounds like it would take a lot of work to actually change.
Oh, it would. Big time.
Yeah.
And Kevin Brake knows that. He says there's going to be pushback, money problems, all that.
Right.
But he's saying it's got to happen if we want our students to, like, really thrive in the 21st century.
Yeah, things are changing so fast.
So fast.
We can't be stuck in the past.
We can't. And that's why his work is so important.
Yeah.
He's not just pointing fingers. He's giving us a plan.
A roadmap.
Yeah, a roadmap for making education better.
So every student has a chance to succeed.
Exactly. That's the goal.
I like that. It's a really good vision. But before we get too far into the future,
Right.
I want to come back to something you said about teachers,
Okay.
because I think that's a really important point.
It is.
There's this fear, right, that technology is going to make teachers like irrelevant.
Yeah, the robot teacher thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But what Kevin Brake is saying is actually the opposite,
He is.
that teachers become even more important,
Right.
but their job is different.
Exactly. In this new world, they're not just the person who stands at the front and delivers information.
Yeah.
They're more like, coaches, mentors, guides.
So they're still essential, but they're using their expertise in a different way.
Yeah. And that's why professional development is so important.
Ah.
Teachers need help to learn how to use all this new tech in their classrooms, how to personalize learning, how to create those engaging experiences.
So it's not just about giving them the tools, it's
Yeah.
about giving them the skills to use the tools.
Exactly. And the time and space to like work together, try things out.
Right, because teachers are already so busy.
Oh, they're swamped. So if we're asking them to do even more, we got to give them the support they need.
Absolutely.
And that support needs to come from everyone, school leaders, policymakers, parents, the whole community.
It's a team effort.
Totally.
Hmm.
But I'm curious, you know, as teachers' roles change, are there certain skills that are going to be even more important than they are now?
That's a great question. And yeah, Kevin Brake talks about that. He says teachers are going to need more than just like knowing their subject matter really well.
Mm.
They're going to need to be good at things like data analysis,
Okay.
figuring out how to use tech in the classroom, designing personalized learning plans.
So they're almost like learning engineers?
Kinda. They got to analyze all the data about their students,
Yeah,
pick the right tech tools, create those amazing learning experiences.
that sounds like a lot. Do you think every teacher will be able to do that?
I think most teachers are like incredibly adaptable.
Yeah.
They're always learning new things.
Right.
But yeah, they're going to need a lot of support and training.
So we need to make sure teachers have the skills and resources to like really succeed in this new world of education.
Totally. And that's where Kevin Brake's work is so hopeful.
He's not just saying, here are the problems. He's saying, here are some solutions.
Hmm.
Here's how we can move forward.
So he believes we can actually create a better system.
He does. A system that's truly personalized and engaging and effective.
And you believe that too.
I do. I really do. But we've only just started talking about all this.
Right. We've barely scratched the surface of Kevin Brake's research.
Yeah, Ellie, there's so much more.
So where do we go from here? What else should we be talking about?
Well, I think it would be really cool to like really dig into the specifics of how tech can personalize learning.
Okay.
We've talked about it in general, but there's like a whole world of possibilities to explore.
Okay, I'm game. Let's dive deeper into how we can use tech to like really tailor the learning experience for each student.
Let's do it.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for this part of our deep dive. But join us next time for the final part, where we'll really unpack the exciting world of personalized learning and how tech can make it happen. See you then. Okay, so we're back, and I'm really ready to like dig into the how-to part of all this. Like, how do we actually use tech to personalize learning?
Right. Get into the nuts and bolts.
Yeah. Last time we talked about some schools that are already doing some pretty amazing stuff.
Huh.
But I'm curious about, the specific tools, the techniques, like what are we actually talking about here?
Well, it's a fast-moving field, but there are definitely some areas where tech is making a big difference. One of the most exciting is like adaptive learning platforms.
Adaptive learning. That sounds kind of futuristic. Like, what is that?
It's actually pretty straightforward. Imagine software that can like constantly adjust to how a student is learning,
Okay.
like their pace, their style.
So it's not just like one size fits all software. It's actually
No, it's constantly learning about the student.
Okay, so if I get it right, if a student's like flying through algebra, it'll give them harder stuff.
Right.
But if they're struggling with like fractions, it'll slow down and give them more help with that.
That's it. It's like having a personal tutor that's always adjusting to what you need.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Are we talking about like robots replacing teachers here?
No, not at all. Think of it more like giving teachers like superpowers.
Super teachers.
Exactly. It can take care of things like grading, feedback, even some of the basic teaching.
So teachers have more time for like the human stuff.
Right. Mentoring, guiding, inspiring, all that good stuff.
So it's about making that human interaction, even better, more effective.
Exactly. And that's where learning analytics come in. These platforms can give teachers like really detailed reports on each student's progress,
Okay.
showing them exactly where they're doing well and where they might need some extra help.
So it's like personalized data for every student.
Yeah. It's like having a dashboard for each kid, showing their strengths, weaknesses, how they're progressing. Super helpful for teachers.
Yeah, I can see that. That would be a huge help. And it's not just about grades, right?
No, not at all. Some of these platforms can track like how engaged a student is, how motivated they are, even their social emotional well-being.
Wow. Okay, so it's really a whole picture of the student.
Exactly. So teachers can support them in all areas, not just academics.
Yeah, that's really important. Kids are dealing with a lot these days.
They are. Okay, so back to tech, though. What else is out there that can help personalize learning?
Yeah, what else is cool?
Well, VR and AR are getting really big.
VR, like virtual reality.
Yep. Imagine students being able to, like, step inside a human cell
Whoa.
or walk on the Great Wall of China.
Mm.
all from their classroom.
That's wild. Like bringing the world to them.
Totally. And AR, augmented reality, that's like overlaying digital info onto the real world.
So like you could point your phone at a plant and see like all the different parts labeled.
Exactly. Or even a video explaining how it grows.
That's really cool. But with all this amazing tech, like what happens to the basics?
Mm-hmm.
Books, pencils, just talking to each other face to face.
Right. And Kevin Brake talks about that. He's very clear that tech is just a tool. It's not meant to replace human connection or those fundamental skills, like reading and writing and thinking critically.
Yeah, we can't forget about that stuff.
We can't. It's about finding the right balance, using tech to make the learning experience better, not to get rid of everything else.
I like that. It's about using tech intentionally.
Exactly. Not just because it's shiny and new, but because it actually helps students learn.
Okay, I'm with you on that. All this talk about personalized learning and technology is making me feel really optimistic. Like we're really on to something here.
I think so too. There's a lot of energy around this, and more schools are starting to get on board.
That's good to hear. But, there are still challenges.
Of course.
Like funding, teacher training, even just people being resistant to change.
Yeah, all of that.
So how do we actually overcome all that and make this vision of personalized learning, a reality for everyone?
Well, it's going to take all of us, right? Educators, policymakers, parents, communities. We all got to be pushing in the same direction.
Yeah, we've got to work together.
And I think the most important thing is to just start talking about it, raising awareness about what personalized learning can do, and fighting for the resources to make it happen.
So start the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The more we talk about it, the more momentum we'll build.
I like that. And the good news is there are already people out there doing amazing work, like those schools we talked about.
Oh, yeah. Tons of them.
So it's not about starting from scratch. It's about learning from each other.
Exactly. Sharing what works, supporting each other. There's a real sense of community in this field. Everyone's working towards the same goal.
That's really cool. It's like a movement.
It is. So to wrap things up, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember about all this?
Yeah. What's the big takeaway?
That personalized learning isn't just some fluffy idea. It's absolutely essential if we want our students to be ready for, the world we live in now, the future.
And technology can help make that happen.
Exactly. If we use it right.
So if you're listening to this and you're feeling inspired, what can you actually do?
Talk to people. Your kid's teacher, the school board, your elected officials.
Make your voice heard.
Right. You don't have to be an expert to advocate for change. Every voice matters.
I like that. And of course, check out all the links in our show notes. We've got tons of resources there.
Yep, like Edutopia, Getting Smart, the Christensen Institute.
All doing great work on this stuff.
Definitely check them out, and definitely check out Kevin Brake's research.
Yeah, he's the one who got us thinking about all this in the first place.
He is. His work is so insightful, so inspiring.
All right, well, that's about all the time we have for today. But before we go, I want to leave you with one last thought. Imagine you could create the perfect learning environment for your child. What would it look like? What would be the most important things to help them thrive and be their best selves?
Such a great question. Tell us your ideas in the comments below. We'd love to hear them.
Yeah. And as always, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who might be interested. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing for change in education.